The abduction. The Kravoth Syndicate had orchestrated countless kidnappings over the centuries. Their six-limbed bodies and chitinous exoskeletons made them naturally intimidating, but it was their reputation for brutal efficiency that truly cemented their status as the most feared criminal organization in the Orion Arm. Dars Vol, chief executor of the Syndicate's Acquisitions Division, had personally overseen the abduction of diplomats, royalty, and corporate magnates from 17 different species. Yet, as he stared at the small creature huddled in the corner of the holding cell, he knew that this time they had made a catastrophic mistake. "Explain again how this happened." He clicked to his subordinate, his primary arms crossed while his secondary limbs twitched with anxiety. Meztar's antennae flattened against his skull in submission. The intelligence was solid. The Centaurian ambassador's daughter would be in the diplomatic quarters gardens. Small humanoid, approximately this high, dark hair. "We struck exactly as planned." And yet, Dars Vol hissed, "This is not a Centaurian child." The small human girl looked up at them, her brown eyes remarkably calm despite her situation. She appeared to be studying them with curiosity rather than fear. That unnerved Dars Vol more than screaming would have. "I want to go home," the child said simply. Her voice was steady, another surprise. "My name is Ellie Mackenzie. My mother is Admiral Sarah Mackenzie of the United Earth Defense Force." Dars Vol's exoskeleton nearly cracked from the sudden tension. Not just any human child, the offspring of a military commander. The implications crashed through his mind like a meteor shower. "Verify," he snapped at Meztar. It took precisely 3 minutes for the subordinate to return, his normally blue carapace now pale with horror. "Confirmed. Eleanor Mackenzie, age 7 Earth years. Daughter of Admiral Sarah Mackenzie, newly appointed commander of Earth's Third Fleet." The room seemed to vibrate with the weight of this revelation. The Kravoth Syndicate had built its power on carefully selecting targets that would cause minimal galactic repercussions. Centaurians were politically influential but militarily weak. Humans, on the other hand. Earth had entered the galactic stage only 40 years ago, but had already established itself as a formidable military power. Their ships were fewer but more advanced than most, their tactics unpredictable, their soldiers renowned for a tenacity that bordered on madness by Kravoth standards. "We must return her immediately," Meztar suggested, his voice barely audible. "And admit our error. Show weakness." Dars Vol paced the room, all 6 limbs now in constant, agitated motion. "The other syndicates would tear us apart." The girl, Ellie, stood up and walked to the force field separating her from her captors. The directness of her gaze unsettled them further. "I'm hungry," she announced. "Do you have any food the humans can eat?" Dars Vol stared at the child, baffled by her composure. Most adult captives were reduced to incoherent terror by now. "Check our databases for human nutritional requirements," he ordered, "and prepare one of the family quarters for her." Meztar's compound eyes widened in surprise. "Not the holding cells." "We've made enough mistakes today," Dars Vol replied grimly. 3 cycles later, the first reports came in. Earth vessels were on the move, not just patrol ships, but heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts. The Third Fleet had abruptly changed course toward Kravoth space. The message couldn't be clearer. "They know," Matriarch Kolvesh stated, her massive form dominating the Syndicate's council chamber. As the leader of both the criminal organization and the Kravoth's ruling family, her word was absolute law. "They cannot prove anything," one council member argued. "They don't need to prove. They know." The matriarch's secondary arms drummed an anxious rhythm on her throne. "Where is the child now?" "In the family quarters, as ordered," Dars Vol reported. "She has been provided with appropriate nutrition and entertainment devices." "Has she attempted escape? Shown signs of distress?" "No, Matriarch. She is unusually calm. She asked many questions about our species, our homeworld. She seems curious." The matriarch's compound eyes narrowed. Bring her to me. When Ellie entered the grand chamber, flanked by guards, her small form seemed impossibly fragile among the towering Kravoth. Yet she walked with a steady stride, taking in the alien architecture with undisguised interest. "Do you know who I am, human child?" the matriarch asked. Ellie studied the enormous alien before responding. "You're in charge here, the boss." A ripple of surprised clicks passed through the council members. The child had an unexpected grasp of hierarchy. "I am Matriarch Kolvesh. Do you understand why you are here?" "You made a mistake," Ellie said simply. "You thought I was someone else, but now you're scared because my mom's coming with her ships." The bluntness of the statement left the chamber in shocked silence. Such direct speech would be considered a grave insult among Kravoth, but from this alien child, it carried a different weight, the unvarnished perception of youth. "Your mother, she commands many vessels?" the matriarch asked carefully. "Hundreds," Ellie replied with the unmistakable pride of a child. "The biggest fleet in the whole Earth force. She can blow up moons if she wants to." Darzvol's exoskeleton seemed to tighten around him. The child's boast might be exaggerated, but Earth's military capabilities were indeed formidable. "We did not intend to take you," the matriarch admitted, surprising her council with this direct acknowledgement. "I know," Ellie said, "but you still did it. Mom says intentions don't matter as much as actions." The matriarch studied the human child with new interest. "Your mother sounds wise. Among my people, children are taught to respect actions over words as well." Ellie nodded, then asked, "Do you have children?" The personal nature of the question violated all Kravoth diplomatic protocols, but before any council member could intervene, the matriarch answered, "I have 17 offspring from 3 clutches." "That's a lot," Ellie said, impressed. "Can I meet them?" The introduction of a human child to the matriarch's personal offspring created ripples throughout the Kravoth compound. Initially kept as a closely guarded secret, the novelty of Ellie's presence proved impossible to contain once the matriarch's youngest clutch became enamored with their strange visitor. Kravoth children, normally disciplined and reserved from hatching, found Ellie's playfulness contagious. Her games, her stories, her inexplicable ability to find joy in the midst of her captivity. All of it fascinated them. Darzvol watched with growing unease as Ellie taught a group of Kravoth younglings to play a game involving clapping hands in complex patterns. The children were using all 6 of their limbs, creating an intricate rhythm that echoed through the compound's recreational chamber. "This is dangerous," Mestar observed, standing beside him. "The children are becoming attached to her." "It may work to our advantage," Darzvol mused. "If humans value their offspring as we do, they may negotiate more reasonably if they believe the child is being treated well." "You still think negotiation is possible?" "Our long-range sensors have detected 12 Earth warships that have entered our system. They're not broadcasting demands. They're not even responding to hails." Darzvol's antennae flattened against his skull. "How long until they reach our homeworld?" "At current velocity, 2 cycles." The laughter of the children, both Kravoth and human, created a jarring counterpoint to this grim news. Darzvol watched as one of the matriarch's daughters gently helped Ellie climb onto a play structure designed for the more agile Kravoth physiology. "Prepare our defense systems," he ordered, "but discreetly. We don't want to alarm the child." "You think she would warn them?" "I think she notices more than we realize." That night, as the Kravoth homeworld prepared for potential conflict, Ellie sat in the quarters provided to her, drawing pictures on a tablet given to her by one of the matriarch's children. When Darzvol came to check on her, he found her creating a detailed drawing of what appeared to be Earth vessels. "What are you making?" he asked, trying to keep his tone casual. "Mom's ships," Ellie replied without looking up. "This one's the flagship, the EDF Indomitable. It has phase cannons that can cut through anything." Darzvol studied the child's drawing with growing concern. The level of detail suggested the girl had spent significant time aboard these vessels. "Are you afraid, Ellie?" he asked suddenly. The question seemed to surprise her. She looked up from her drawing, her expression thoughtful. "A little," she admitted, "but Mom will come get me. And I don't think she'll hurt you unless you hurt me first." She paused, then added, "You haven't hurt me." "No," Darsvol agreed, "and we won't. Then maybe everything will be okay." She returned to her drawing, adding what appeared to be weapon systems to the vessel with careful precision. Darsvol left her quarters with a growing sense of unease. The human child's confidence in her mother's arrival was absolute. What troubled him more was her casual certainty about the protection she enjoyed, as if the mobilization of an entire battle fleet for a single child was not just expected, but inevitable. As he made his way to the command center, reports flooded in from their outer system monitoring stations. The Earth vessels had accelerated, their formation perfect, their approach vector leaving no doubt about their destination. "They'll be here by morning," the tactical officer reported. Outside the compound's reinforced windows, the evening sky of the Kravoth homeworld still looked peaceful, stars gleaming against the purple-black backdrop of space. But Darsvol knew that somewhere up there, human warships were approaching, vessels commanded by a mother whose child they had taken. For the first time in his long career as the Syndicate's enforcer, Darsvol felt a sensation he had never experienced before, genuine fear of an enemy he had gravely underestimated. The humans were coming, and despite Ellie's reassurances, he wasn't convinced anything would be okay ever again. The reckoning. Dawn broke over the Kravoth capital with an ominous silence. The usual bustling morning activities of the city had ceased entirely, as citizens remained in their dwellings, following emergency broadcasts. In the night, the Syndicate's carefully constructed facade of legitimacy had crumbled, as the matriarch was forced to inform the general population of the crisis at hand. Above them, clearly visible even in daylight, 12 Earth warships hung in low orbit like suspended blades. They had arrived with mechanical precision, positioning themselves in a perfect containment formation that covered every major population center on the planet. In the Syndicate's command center, Darsvol stared at the tactical display with a mixture of professional admiration and existential dread. The humans had deployed with flawless efficiency, neutralizing the Kravoth's orbital defenses without firing a single shot. Their technological superiority was evident in how they had systematically disabled, rather than destroyed, the defense platforms, a show of restraint that somehow felt more threatening than outright aggression. Still no communication from them. Mestar reported, his voice trained. "Our hails go unanswered." The matriarch, who had not slept since the Earth fleet's approach was first detected, clicked her mandibles in agitation. They wished to demonstrate their power before negotiating. A classic tactic. "With respect, matriarch," Darsvol ventured, "I don't believe this is a negotiation tactic. They have not made demands because they do not see this as a negotiable situation." Before the matriarch could respond, a junior communications officer's antennae shot up in alarm. "Incoming transmission. It's directed specifically to this compound, on a frequency that should be impossible for them to know." "Put it through," the matriarch ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the face of a human female. Her features shared a striking resemblance to Ellie's, though harder, tempered by experience and command. She wore a dark uniform adorned with insignia that even the Kravoth recognized as denoting high rank. "I am Admiral Sarah Mackenzie of the Earth Defense Force," she stated without preamble. Her voice was level, controlled, betraying no emotion. "You have my daughter. I want her back." The matriarch stepped forward. "I am Matriarch Kolvesh of the Kravoth. There has been a regrettable misunderstanding." "No misunderstandings," the Admiral interrupted. "Your organization abducted my child. We tracked your vessel from the diplomatic quarter to your homeworld. We have the identities of every individual involved in the operation." The precision of this intelligence sent a wave of shocked clicks through the command center. Their operations had always been conducted with the utmost secrecy. "The child is unharmed," the matriarch assured her. It was indeed a case of mistaken identity. We had no intention. Your intentions are irrelevant. Admiral Mackenzie cut in again. Here is what will happen. You will bring my daughter to the coordinates I am transmitting. You will deliver her personally, matriarch, accompanied by the individual who led the abduction. You have 1 Earth hour to comply. And if we refuse? The question came not from the matriarch, but from one of the council members, his voice betraying his fear. The Admiral's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened. Look outside. As if synchronized with her words, a brilliant beam of light lanced down from one of the Earth vessels, striking an uninhabited island visible from the city. The energy discharge lasted only seconds, but when it ceased, the island was simply gone, replaced by churning, steaming ocean. The display of power left the command center in stunned silence. 1 hour, Admiral Mackenzie repeated, and the transmission ended. The matriarch found Ellie playing with her youngest offspring in the family quarters. The human child had constructed an elaborate structure using building blocks designed for Kravov children, adapting to their alien proportions with remarkable ingenuity. Your mother has arrived, the matriarch announced. Ellie's face lit up with joy. I knew she would come. Can I see her now? Yes, we are taking you to her. The matriarch hesitated, then asked, Were you afraid, child, during your time with us? Ellie considered the question seriously. At first, a little, but your children were nice to me, and you didn't hurt me. She looked at the young Kravov she had been playing with. I'll miss Krikta and the others, though. The young Kravov's antennae drooped in sadness. Must you go, Ellie friend? I have to go home, Ellie explained gently. My mom and dad miss me. Will you remember us? Another young Kravov asked. Of course I will, Ellie promised. And maybe someday I can visit, or you can visit Earth. The matriarch watched this exchange with a complex mixture of emotions. In the 7 cycles since the human child's accidental abduction, she had witnessed something unprecedented, a genuine bond forming between her offspring and this alien child. It challenged everything the Kravov had believed about humans, about other species in general. It is time, she told Ellie. Say your goodbyes. To the matriarch's surprise, her children surrounded the human girl in what appeared to be a group embrace, a gesture they had clearly learned from Ellie herself, as physical displays of affection were not part of Kravov culture. The meeting point was a flat, empty plain outside the capital city. The Earth forces had deployed a small shuttle, which waited on the ground with its engines running. Beside it stood Admiral Mackenzie, flanked by 4 armed soldiers in powered combat armor. The Kravov delegation approached slowly. The matriarch, Darsvol, and Ellie, who walked between them holding the matriarch's secondary hand. As they drew near, protocols and formalities seemed to evaporate. Ellie broke away, running toward her mother. Mom. Admiral Mackenzie dropped to one knee, catching her daughter in a fierce embrace that showed more emotion than she had betrayed in the earlier transmission. For a long moment, she simply held the child, her professional composure temporarily set aside. When she finally stood, her expression had hardened again. You kidnapped a child from a protected diplomatic zone, she addressed the Kravov. Under galactic law, this constitutes an act of war. It was a mistake, Darsvol responded, stepping forward. I am the one responsible. I led the operation that mistook your daughter for a Centaurian diplomatic child. A mistake, the Admiral repeated, her tone flat. One that could have cost my daughter her life. Mom. Ellie tugged at her mother's uniform. They didn't hurt me. They gave me food and toys and everything. And I made friends with their kids. The Admiral looked down at her daughter, then back at the Kravov. Something shifted in her expression, not softening, exactly, but recalculating. Is this true? She asked the matriarch. You treated her well. Once we realized our error, yes, the matriarch admitted. We did not know how to remedy the situation without appearing weak to our rivals. Criminal politics, the Admiral stated, not a question but an assessment. Our society is complex, the matriarch replied. But your daughter taught us something unexpected. She showed my offspring that humans are not the warmongers our history suggests. She showed them kindness, curiosity, resilience. Admiral Mackenzie studied the Kravov leader for a long moment. My orders were to recover my daughter, and if she had been harmed, to enact proportional response against those responsible. And now, Darsvol asked, she appears unharmed. More than that, she seems to have developed attachments. The Admiral's gaze shifted to her daughter, who was explaining something to one of the soldiers about her time with the Kravov, gesturing animatedly. We have a proposal, the matriarch said carefully, one that may benefit both our peoples. I'm listening. The Kravov Syndicate has operated in shadows for generations. Perhaps it is time for change. We have extensive knowledge of criminal networks throughout this sector, information that would be valuable to Earth's security forces. The Admiral's eyebrows rose slightly. You're offering intelligence. We're offering partnership, the matriarch corrected. The Syndicate can transform into a legitimate security operation. Our unique skills, put to better use. In exchange for what? No retribution for this incident, and diplomatic recognition of the Kravov as an allied species to Earth. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, her tactical mind clearly assessing the proposal from all angles. Finally, she spoke. I don't have the authority to make such an agreement. Before the Kravov could respond, she continued, but I can bring your proposal to Earth's diplomatic corps with my recommendation. And what would that recommendation be, Admiral? The matriarch asked. Admiral Mackenzie looked at her daughter again, who was now showing one of the soldiers a bracelet made of Kravov materials, clearly a gift from her time in captivity. My recommendation will depend on your immediate actions. Dismantle your criminal operations. Release any other captives. Provide preliminary intelligence on threats to Earth shipping lanes as a show of good faith. Done, the matriarch agreed without hesitation, surprising even Darsvol with her readiness. 3 months later, the Kravov homeworld looked remarkably different. The Syndicate's transformation had been neither smooth nor complete, but the change was undeniable. Former smuggling outposts had been converted to legitimate trading posts. Intelligence operatives now worked alongside Earth security forces, helping to dismantle rival criminal organizations. In the matriarch's compound, now officially recognized as the Kravov Governmental Center, a secure communication link had been established with Earth. It wasn't uncommon to see the matriarch's offspring gathered around the screen, exchanging stories and games with a certain human child who had, against all odds, become their friend. Darsvol, now serving as the head of the newly formed Kravov Security Service, stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Above, an Earth vessel maintained orbit, no longer a threat but a partner in joint exercises. Did you ever imagine this outcome? Meztar asked, joining him at the railing. Never, Darsvol admitted. When we took that child, I thought we had sealed our fate. In a way we did, Meztar observed, just not the fate we expected. Below them, in the city streets, Kravov citizens went about their day alongside human diplomats, traders, and security personnel. The initial fear and suspicion were gradually giving way to cautious cooperation. The youngest generation will grow up knowing humans as allies, not enemies, Darsvol said, all because of one child who showed no fear, only curiosity. In the distance, a small transport vessel descended toward the spaceport, a diplomatic shuttle from Earth. According to the schedule, it carried a special visitor, Eleanor Mackenzie, accompanied by her mother, on the first official diplomatic visit by a human child to the Kravov homeworld. The abduction that should have started a war had instead, improbably, sown the seeds of peace. The sky above the Kravov world was still filled with human ships, but they no longer came as conquerors. They came as friends.